Hello and welcome to Coding Keywords tutorial session. This is Module 10 in our Introduction to Excel course. And today we're looking at the most complex but popular function in Excel. So we're going to be demystifying it and breaking it down. I'm Dr. Adejo, and I'm just going to go straight ahead to share my screen. So we're looking at the lookup and reference functions. So I'm right about sharing my screen. And I'm just going to confirm that my screen is shared. Okay, so my screen is shared. All right, so we're going to look at lookup functions, and I'm going to do a quick recap on what we've done so far. So essentially, we've been looking at Excel, this very powerful software that has so many applications and we all use at work and even in our personal life. All right, so we saw that Excel is a software that has to do with data. So it's all about data. And so we saw that first of all, you gather or collect your data, you bring it in. And then when you bring your data into Excel, first thing you want to do is you want to inspect it, check the formats, check the data types, and that's formatting. We also have styling. So we saw styling in Excel. And in another module, we saw data organization using tables. We saw how to organize our data using tables. And then we looked at calculations, and we saw that calculations mostly has to do with our numeric type of data. And then we also saw how to use texts, how to do functions and formulas on text and dates. And then we also looked at pivot tables and charts. And we also looked at decision making using Excel. And today we're looking at lookup. So what's the lookup all about? So we've seen that everything has to do with data, whether it's data entry, data formatting, data styling, data organization, manipulating data using functions and all of that. The lookup has to do with another aspect of working with data, and that has to do with searching for data. So let's look at some examples. Meanwhile, I'll just do a quick check just to be sure everything is fine in the stream. Okay, so straight away, we're going to look at why do we need to search? Okay, so we've got a couple of examples. First example here, we have the student record table. So we've got student ID, we have name, and we have math score. So we might have a scenario where we have a student ID, say ST103, and we want to go to our student record table using this student ID, which we would call an identifier, and we want to find the score for the students with that student ID. So you see what happens is we're going to have to first check the student ID column, but then what we want to be returned or what we want as our final answer is a value in the math score column. So we're dealing with two columns. We're going to have to go into the data sets first with the student ID column. And then when we find what we want, then we have to trace the value in the math score column. So that has to do with searching. It's all about looking for information, and we appreciate the fact that searching for information is one of the key things we do on the internet. We use Google search, we use AI to search. Searching is so important. So we're just going to see how we do searching in Excel. Of course, we have simple search where we have a column. So we've got a column and then we're searching for data there. That's completely different. So that's like a lower layer. Now, what are we doing? We're trying to search for something, and when we find that thing, we want to trace the parameter. All right, so let's look at example 2. Now, in example 2, we've got two tables. Okay, so in example 1, we had a table, and then we had some data which we wanted to search for in that table. Now, we've got two tables. In our first table, we have product code and quantity. So we've got two tables. The first table, we have our product and quantity. Second, we have the product code and price. Okay, so we've got products. In one table, we have the quantity. In the other table, we have the price. So we might want to compute our sales by taking a particular product code, going to the table with the quantity, finding the product code, retrieving the quantity, and then bringing it to the other table, and finding the sales. So the sales is going to be the quantity times the price. So you appreciate that. So for example, we take P103, we already know the price is 45, and then we go over to this other table, try to search for 103, and when we find it, we want to retrieve or return the quantity and then work with it. So that's another example. And third example is here we want to find the salary that we're going to be paying, total revenue or total income that as employees are going to earn. And then in this table here, we have the employee records. So we have the employee records, their salary, and the tax band. And then in this table here, we have the tax bands and the rates. So we want to come over here, search for a particular tax band, find the rates, and then bring it over here and use it to compute the revenue for our employee. So we see lookup, we see searching in practice. So the keywords here are one, lookup, and two, return. Lookup and return, lookup and return. So we're going to be seeing different functions and how they will help us do that in Excel. So let me just check the, yes, I think everything is fine in the stream. And my sound is fine as well. So that's just a brief on what lookup and reference functions are all about. So we've been able to do a recap of the module 1 to 9, which we have done over the past couple of weeks. Module 1 to 9, we saw different aspects of data. And then today, we're going to look at the concept of lookups in Excel, the VLookup, HLOOKUP, XLookup, index plus match, common lookup, errors. We're going to go through all of that. We're going to see how to retrieve the right data from the right place. And the concept of lookup just has to do with searching for a value in one table and returning a related value from another column or row. So it's all about searching. And keywords here, search and find, or I would say lookup and return. So yes, we've looked at the different examples that show us this in practice. So straight away, we're going to be looking at VLookup. So VLookup stands for vertical lookup, and it is a function. And this is like the most popular function, VLookup. So we're going to be looking at it. And it's a function. Remember, when we looked at functions, we said the first thing you want to write when you're dealing with a function or a formula in Excel is the equal to sign. So it's a function. So it's inbuilt in Excel. So I'm just going to type it VLookup. And there you go. So Excel is already suggesting, and when I click on that, you get to see the syntax here. So VLookup takes in 4 parameters. So we've got the lookup value, we've got the table or array, we've got the column index number, and we've got the range lookup. Okay, so we're going to explain it a bit. So let's look at this diagram here. So we've got the VLookup function format here, or the syntax here. So the first parameter there is what you know. So what you know or what you have, you're going to enter it in the first parameter. Second parameter there, you put the full table to search. So it's all about searching. So you're going to put the range of the table where you're going to be doing your searching there. Third parameter is the column number with what you need. And the final parameter there is the search accuracy. So you've got 4 parameters. Once you fit in the 4 parameters, you would be able to do your search. Okay, so let's go back. We've got an example here, and then we're going to just demonstrate it straight ahead. So first thing I'm going to do is just clear this off. It's going to clear this off. This is where we're going to do our testing. Okay, so here we have a table. So we've got a data set here, and it's product price list. So we've got the product ID, the product name, the category, and the unit price. And then over here, we have sales transactions. Sales transactions. So what we have here is sales transactions. And what it means is that we had different products being sold. And over here, we've got the order ID for the sales transactions. We've got the product ID, and then we've got units sold. All right, so what's the relationship between this table and this table? So I just colored them. All right, so in this table, we've got the product ID. This is what we're concerned about. This is where we have our sales. And what we're going to do is take each product ID and then bring it here, search for it in the product ID column here, and then retrieve the product name and the unit price. Okay, so I'm going to take it over again. We've got two tables. We have a current table we're working on here, which is the sales transactions. So we're going to take the product ID. We're going to take P101 first of all. We're going to come over to the product price list, go to the product ID column on the product price list table, search for P101, and when we find it, we're going to retrieve the product name and the unit price. Okay, so we're going to do that using VLookup. We'll do that using VLookup. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to write my VLookup function. First of all, I just write the product's name here. This is product name. I'm going to retrieve that. And here we have the unit price. Okay, so first of all, we want to take P101. So I'm going to come here and write equal to and type VLookup. Okay, so that's VLookup there. Okay, so first of all, I have to put the lookup value as my first parameter. What is the lookup value? Remember, we said the lookup value here has to do with what you know. So what do I know here? What I know is the product ID. That's what I have. That's what I know. Okay, so first I have the product ID, in this case is P101. Next up is the table array. The table array has to do with the entire range, the entire table, the entire data set that I'm searching. So I'm just going to highlight the data here. So I have to highlight everything, entire table with all the columns. So that's the array. Next up is the column index number. The column index number has to do with the column with what I need. Okay, so just bear in mind, first of all, it was what I know. Next now is what I need. What do I need? So I need the product name. So I need the product name first of all. So if this is column 1, this is column 2. So I'm going to write 2 there. So that's the column index number. And then the last thing there is the range lookup. Okay, so you see the options here being suggested by Excel. It's either going to be true or false. So do I want an approximate match or an exact match? Okay, so I'm looking for P101. Do I want exactly P101 there or something approximate to P101? I want the exact match. So I'm going to type false there. So you can see if it's the approximate match, that is true. If it's the exact match, that is false. So I'm just going to type false there exactly as it is in all caps. And there you go. I've been able to put the 4 parameters for my VLookup function, and I press enter. And you can see that I have the result there as laptop. Okay, so for P101, it returned laptop for me. And let's look at this table here. You can see that the products with the ID P101 is actually laptop. So you can see that clearly. You can see that clearly. So my VLookup has worked for me. I put in P101, which is what I'm working with in this table. And then it went over to this, my product price list table. I specified the range there. You can see the entire range was selected. And then I also specified the column, which is column 2. And then it returned for me what I wanted. Okay, so that's VLookup straightforward. Okay, let me go back to the stream. Everything is fine. Okay, so it's very simple, and I'm sure when you practice it on your own, you're going to be able to see how powerful this function is. It's very complex, but once you know the details, it's simple. So I'd like to let you know that the data set for this activity is available in the link. So if you check the link of the description or in the comments, you will see the data set, and I encourage you to practice with it. I also encourage you to subscribe to the channel. You get notified when our videos are out, whether it's on Excel or Python or data analysis. We actually simplify these things and make it easy for you. So what next? We've got some other products there with their product IDs. So let's see how we can retrieve the product names for the other ones. Now, something tricky is going to happen here. Something tricky is going to happen here. I want you to observe. So I've got the formula here, and I'm going to come down and draw it. That's not the best thing to do, but let's see. Now, I've drawn it down, and there you go. I've got some issues. I've got some issues. So got some issues there. So what I'm going to do is, now let's observe. In the first VLookup formula here, we've got S3, S3, which is here. So we picked it here. And then we've got the range L3 to 07. So let me just double click on it. You see the entire range selected there. L3, which is from here to 07. Nice and fine. And then we selected column 2, and then we put false. Now let's look at the second one. And then can you see what has happened? The range has shifted. And that's because our referencing has been done using relative referencing. So the best thing to do was not to just drag the formula down. Okay, so let's look at it again. The first range is nicely selected for our data sets. You can see starts from P101, ends 300 here. Now look at the second one. The second one skips the P101. It starts from P102 and it ends outside the range of our data set. So that tells us that we ought not to use absolute reference in there. Relative reference in there, but absolute referencing. So remember, now have a look at this. You see this one now. As we keep going down, we're getting out of the range. Now remember that we've done cell referencing in an earlier module. I think that's module 5 or module 6. So please check this course and you'll be able to see it. So what are we going to do? We're going to have to do absolute referencing. So I'm going to come back here. First, let me do Control Z. Okay, so I've taken all of that. So I'm going to come back here. Now, this is my formula. So what do I want to be fixed? Whatever I want to be fixed, in this case, the data set, I'm going to set it to absolute referencing. So, and that has to do with this range L3 to 07. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix I'm just going to use the $sign here. And then I'm just going to fix it exactly at L3 and 07. So I just put the $sign. So remember, when you use the $sign, you're able to fix the row and the column. So that's what I've done. So I want L3 to remain fixed, and I want 07 to remain fixed when I draw the formula down. Okay, so I've done that. So S3 is going to be relative referencing. There's no $sign there, and that's how I want it, because when I come over to the next cell here, which is U4, I want to pick P103. Okay, so let me draw it down. Let's see. And there you go. All right, so when I come here, I want to pick P101. When I'm here, I want P103. When I'm here, I want P104. When I'm here, I want P102. And when I'm here, I want P106. And that is why S3 remains the way it is. Now, that lesson there just shows the sheet name. Okay, so we're on the lesson sheets, and then we're dealing with S3. Okay, but then when it comes to the second parameter, which is the table or the array with my data set, I have to put the $sign around L3 and around 07 so that I can always have this range selected. So you see the red line here showing the range selected, and when I come to the last one, you see it's still showing unlike before. All right, so let's have a look at it. The first one is P101 and his laptop. Yes, that's correct. We've got P103 and his keyboard. Okay, we've got P104 and its monitor, and we've got P102, we go back up, its mouse, and then we've got P106, and there's no P106 there. So we didn't find it, and that's why we have this error there. So that's the simple use of the VLookup. And so we see the VLookup in practice, and we see how it's helped us to search. So we're able to go into this data set on this table, we're able to go in here, search on this column, and then retrieve the corresponding value in this column. So that's what we have here nicely. So let's just do the same or similar thing to see how we can retrieve the unit price. So we're going to come over here and do VLookup. And first thing we need is the lookup value, which is this. I have my comma. Next thing is a range, which remains this. Okay, so this time around, it's not writing the sheet name, and that's because I did some explanation by going to the other sheet. So now I just have it L3 to 07. So I'm just going to come over here and I want it fixed. So I'm putting my dollar sign around L there. I'm putting my dollar sign around O here so that I have this range always selected. And then I have my comma. And next up, I need to put the column index number. So what's going to be the column index number for the unit price? So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to put 4 there. And then I'm going to put false. Okay, so false is the parameter that tells me what I want here is an exact match. And then there you go. So it's giving me 900, which is correct. And then I draw it down. So there you go. So you see, I've been able to work within this sales transaction table, sales transactions table. I've been able to work here by taking an identifier, something I want to look up in this product price list table. So I take it one by one. I come over here, search for it. Okay, so it looks for it wherever it is. And then whenever it finds it, it looks to the column that I'm interested in. So I'm interested, first of all, in column 2, which is the product name. It gives me the product name there nicely. And next up, I'm interested in the unit price. It finds a unit price, which is column 4, and it gives me nicely. So that's the VLookup simplified. That's the VLookup in action. So let's see what we have in our notes. We've looked at the VLookup. Okay, so the lookup value is what you're searching for or what you have. The table array is where you are searching, which has what you're looking for and what you need. We have the column index number, which is the column to return. And we've got the range lookup setting, which is either false if we want exact match or approximate. Okay, so approximate. All right, so now this is the thing. This is the thing. So this is just the look. So something I almost keep my mind now. So the way the VLookup works is that whatever you're searching for has to be in the first column. That's just what I almost, that's what almost keep my mind. Whatever you're searching for has to be in the first column. So that's the rule for the VLookup. It has to be in the first column, which is the product's ID in this case. Okay, so yes, we've looked at exact match, and the lookup column must be the first column. Okay, so it's lookup and return, lookup and return, lookup and return. So that's those are the keywords to remember when it comes to the lookup functions. Okay, so we've done all of that. We've retrieved it. We use the exact match, and we can go further to calculate the total sales, which is the units sold times the unit price. Okay, so we saw the error. Yeah, so we saw the value not found error because that P106 was not found. And then we've got other types of errors as well. So in case the column index exceeds the table, we're going to get a different error. So we're going to see that. And these are the issues or the limitations of the VLookup. So it cannot look left. So because what you're looking for or the lookup has to be in the first column, you would always be looking right. Okay. And so when we insert new columns, we're going to see what happens. It breaks, and it requires fixed column numbers. And we've seen how to lock the tables. Okay, so now, because of the limitations of the VLookup, that's why we have the other functions that we're going to be looking at, which is the XLookup, the index plus match. Okay, so let's go ahead and do something. Here we have our sales transactions, and we've been able to use lookup to retrieve the product name and the product price. So now we're going to calculate our total sales based on what we retrieved. So just for emphasis, I'm going to emphasize it again. We started with these sales transactions. We had some sales, we have the order ID, we have information about the products, but just the product ID and then units sold. So we had this cute table, just order ID, product ID, units sold. But what was our goal? We want to find the total sales. So what we had to do was take each product ID that we have here and go to that table that has the information we need. So we took P101, we used the VLookup, and then search for it in the first column. And we said we needed the second column, so the 2 parameter there, and we're working with this entire range here, L3 to 07, which we locked using the $sign, and then we retrieved the product name. Next up, we retrieved the unit price. So now we have more information in our table. We've expanded our table, and now we want to find the total. We want to compute our sales. Okay, so our sales now is going to be equal to the units sold times the unit price that we retrieved using VLookup. And you can just drag it down, and we can go ahead and find the sum. So to find the sum, we can just go to formulas and then just click on auto sum. We have an issue there, so let me just delete this because we had errors there, and this is a total sum. So we're able to do that. We didn't have all the information in the sales transactions. We had to go and search from this other table, and now we're able to calculate our total sales. So that is VLookup in practice. So let me just go back and be sure that everything is fine here. And please, I want comments. So please put comments. I want a feedback. So let me know what you're learning, and then if there are any issues, and then please ensure that you check up the link and practice this. So everything in tech, whether it's programming or using a tool like Excel, is all about practice. You practice it, I'm sure you won't have any issues. They always look tricky in the beginning, but when you practice it, you're going to find out that it works out very well. Okay, so that's our VLookup. So next up, we're going to be looking at our next function. Let's see what it is. Okay, so the next function we have to look at is the HLOOKUP. But I'm going to skip the HLOOKUP, and that's because it works a bit differently. So let's use similar functions. We're going to look at the XLookup. So next we're going to look at is the XLookup. So straight away for the XLookup, we're going to see the syntax. All right, so in this educational flyer here, I have the VLookup compared with the XLookup. And this is why I want you to check the link in the comments and connect with us on WhatsApp and Telegram. You will get resources. So you're going to get all these resources, our flyers. So we take time to prepare these flyers to explain what we teach. And I'd just like to tell you that for this Excel for Beginners course, we're going to have flyers for every module. Those flyers for every module will come in handy to help you understand each of the modules. So these 2 flyers here pretty much explain this entire video. And so let's look at it here. So we looked at the first one. We see the numbers there explaining each parameter as they appear. So for our XLookup, the first parameter there is what we know, similar to the VLookup. Okay. Second parameter there is the column to find what we know. Okay, so this is the column or the range to find what we know. We're going to see that in action. Third parameter there is similar to what we have here, and that's the column with what we need. Okay, and the XLookup has a 4th parameter here, which is a message in case there's an error. And then the 5th parameter there is the search accuracy. Okay, similar to the 4th parameter in the VLookup, and then the final one there is the direction of search. So the XLookup has 6 parameters, the VLookup has 4. So these are the parameters. So first of all, we're going to put what we know there. Secondly, we're going to put the column that has what we know, and which is our lookup, into the table we're searching. And then the next one there is the column with what we need or what we want to return. And then next, we're going to have a message in case there's an error. And then we have the setting, search accuracy setting, and then finally the direction of search. So the keywords there are lookup and return. We want to look up what we know. We want to return what is associated with it. All right, so let's see how to do, we're going to see how to retrieve the product name using the XLookup. Okay, so I'm going to style, okay, so let me style this product name. So I'm going to take this product name here and then just do the format here and style it here. So just for us to easily know that we're looking for the product name. Okay, so we need the product name here. And then also do a similar styling. So I'm using the format painter command and the units sales. And then let me put borders. Okay, so I'm just going to put borders over here, make it look a bit, and then I'm going to put tick borders. Okay, so a tick border around the VLookup and another tick border around the XLookup, so we're able to know them differently. Okay, let me just do a merge and center here, another merge and center here. Okay, so merge and center, and just one final style. So I'm just going to do, okay, so just take off the contrast and do it this way. Okay, so these are VLookup. Make it a bit bigger, and then I'm going to have that there. Okay, so this is VLookup section, and then this is XLookup section. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to type XLookup. So that you type it small case or uppercase, it's going to be there, and there you go. So I've got it there. We've got the lookup value. Okay, so what's my lookup value? Lookup value is still this. Okay, now what's the lookup array? And the lookup array is where I'm going to search for that lookup value, and I'm just going to come over here and select it. So it's the array, not the number. It's the array or the range, not the number. Okay, so I put it there. That's where I'm looking for my product ID. Next is the return array, and then that's here. So I select that. So remember, I had my comma after lookup array. And then now next up is if not found. So in case I'm not able to find what I'm looking for, I can put a message there, and I can say something like missing, or let me say not found. Okay, so I just put not found there. So I put it in double quotes. And then finally, for the search modes, you have the options there. Exact match is 0. Exact match on next smaller item is -1. Exact match on next larger item is 1. Wildcard character match is 2. Regex match is 3. So I'm just going to wait the exact, type the exact there and close it, and there you go. So my XLookup has given me the value there, and once beaten, twice shy, I'm going to come over here and lock the ranges. I'm going to lock the ranges. I'm actually overlocking it because I'm locking both the row and the column. Ideally, I should just be locking. Ideally, I should just be locking the column. Okay, so I should just be locking the column, but I've done that. And when I draw this down, there you go. So you see, in this case, I have my laptop, my keyboard, my monitor, my mouse, and then here I have my custom message there, not found, which replaces the error that I had in the VLookup. So we see the XLookup here, and let's look at them once again, comparing them once again. We've got these two. So that's the VLookup, and that is the XLookup. And so I can just do something quickly here. for this one. Okay, so let me do a shortcut here. So I'm just going to copy this. So I highlighted it, went to the formula bar, and then copied everything. So selected everything, did Control C, and I just pressed enter. Control C and enter. Then I come over here and then go back to the formula bar and paste. Okay. And so in this case, I'm going to replace, now you need the unit price. So I'm not going to be working with M3 now. So just watch. Now I have this range selected. So I'm going to come over here, remove M, put O, remove M, put O. So you see it has shifted from here to here. That was just a shortcut. But just in case you are not able to do this shortcut like I did, please just go back to writing the XLookup one by one and selecting the range. So I just showed the shortcut there, and I'm going to put something different. So I'm just going to put 0. Okay, so it's not, if it's not found, I'm just going to put 0, and I drag it down. There you go. So let's compare. So you see we have 0 here because nothing was found, but over here what was returned was the error. Okay, so that's my unit sales, and then we can go ahead and calculate our sorry, here is unit sold, not unit sales. We can go ahead and calculate our sales. Okay, so we're not going to do that. So this is the X lookup. This is the X lookup. Okay, so we looked at its replacement for the VLookup. This is the syntax, and it can look left or right. So unlike in the VLookup, which could not look left but could only look right, and that's because and that's why you had to put the lookup as the first column there. This one can look left or right. Okay, so no column numbers needed. All we needed to do was highlight the range. It handles the missing values gracefully, and it has more. It's a more readable. It has it's a more readable formula. Okay, so we've seen the advantages of the XLookup. So we've seen how to put a missing message there, and then we have seen the XLookup in practice. We've put the message, and yes, so let's compare. So let's go back again, look at this nice looking flyer here and compare the VLookup and the XLookup. So I can assure you that when you look at this flyer like 2-3 times, you're going to understand these formulas that can be very complex. So once again, let me just go quickly back to the stream, and I want to encourage you, if you've not subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. We have carefully prepared videos to make the learning of tech easy for you. So please subscribe and like this video, share it, and stay connected. Join us on WhatsApp, join us on Telegram, and I can assure you, you're going to master tech very soon. Okay, so we're going to move over to our next function, our next lookup function, and that is actually 2 functions, index and match. Index and match. So this works in any direction, and it does not break when columns move. We're going to see that it's more flexible than the VLookup. And so the first function we're going to look is the match function. And so it's got these parameters, the lookup value, the lookup array, and that last setting of parameter there. And then we've got the index function. And this has the return array and the row number. And we're going to see how to combine the 2 of them. And so match finds the position, index returns the value. So it just happens that the match function helps us to find a particular position when we do a search. And then the index function helps us to find return the value based on the position. Okay, so we're going to see that. And so we're going to see how to retrieve the products using index and match. And then we're going to compare with the XLookup and the VLookup. And we now see which method is more robust. Okay, so we're going to look at our flyer. So we're going to look at this flyer for comparing the index and match and the VLookup. So by now, we pretty should be familiar with the VLookup. It's got 4 parameters. First of all, we put what we know. Next up, we put the range, the full table where we're doing our search for both our lookup and what we want to return. Next up, we have the column number, and finally, we have the setting. Now, let's look at the index and match. Okay, so first of all, we have the index function here. The index function is going to give us the value. It's going to give us what we're looking for. It's going to return what we need. So the first parameter there is the column for what we need. The next parameter there is the match function. So we're putting the match function, which would return a position or a cell. We're putting it as the second parameter in the index function. So in Excel, you can have functions inside other functions. You can have functions inside other functions. We've got the match function inside the index function as the second parameter. So for now, let's forget about the index function and then let's look at the match function, which is inside. So that's a hint. So when you've got something inside another thing, forget about the outer one and deal with the inner one first. Understand the inner one, and then you'll be able to understand how it applies for the outer one. So the index function has two parameters, the array and the result of the match. So let's look at the match. So the first parameter in the match, which is the third parameter in that whole index plus match, is what we know. And then next up is the column that has what we know or what we have. And then the last one there is the search accuracy. So we can see that the match function is a bit similar to the VLookup in that we're going to put, first of all, what we know and where it is, and then we do some setting. But the match function is not going to give us a value. It's going to give us a position. So you use the match function to trace the location of something that you're looking for. And then the index function will receive that location, and then it's going to it's going to look at the column that has what we need, and based on that location that it's found, it will just trace it for us. Okay, so this is it here. Nice looking flyers, nice cheat sheets for you to understand the VLookup, the XLookup, and the index plus match. And so let's go back, and then we're going to see how it works. Okay, so I'm going to have this area here. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to select all of this and then use my format painter, click on that, and then nicely there I have this style here that helps me for the index and match. Okay, so first of all, we're going to start with the match. We're going to start with the match. Remember, the match is inside the index. So we're going to start with the match. So I'm going to put equal to, and then I have my match here. So the match returns the relative position of an item in an array that matches a specified value in a specified order. So what does it do? It gives me the position, or it gives me the cell. Okay, so this is match. I click on match, and then first of all, I put on the lookup value. What's my lookup value? My lookup value is this. Remember, content of S3. Next up, my lookup array. Okay, so where am I looking for it? I'm looking for it over here. Okay, so remember, this is where I'm doing the searching. So I put up my lookup array there. And then I put comma. And the next thing is the match type. So for the match type, I've got 1 for less than, 0 for the exact match. So I'm just going to pick 0 there. I'm just working with exact match, and then I'm going to close it. Okay, so I'm closing it, and let's see. There you go. So it's telling me 1. Okay, so it's telling me position 1 is where I have the results. So I've got position 1. All right, so let me draw this down. Okay, so I'm locking up this area. Okay, so I'm locking up this area. And let's see, so I'm locking it up so that I can draw it down. And there you go. All right, so let's see what's happening. So this is telling me that P101 is in position 1 here. Okay, next up, P103 is in position 3. Okay, so you see this is 1 through 3 in the range. Let's come over here. Now, watch what happens. I'm working here. When I click on this cell, I have to go over here. This is what I'm looking up. And then I'm going to take this and bring it here. And I'm finding where the position is. So when I click on this, you can see it's P104. And I'm checking this range and it's in position 4. And then when we come over here, we'll see that there's no match. Okay, so that's how the match works. That's how the match works. So I'm just going to come over here and insert. So here I'm going to call this product name match. Okay, so product name match. Okay, so yes, so product name match. Well, we're using the match function, and then here I'm going to have product name, and then here match plus index plus match. Okay, so let's see how it works. Okay, so here we have index plus match. So I'm just wrapping it so that it comes out well for us here. Okay. All right, so we're going to do index plus match here. So by now we should be able to appreciate what the match was giving us. It was just giving us the position of what we were looking for in our search table. Let's screen. Okay. Sorry. Okay. All right. So now, and we'll just go back quickly to look at, yeah. So the match is going to be inside the index. Its own needs two. It needs 2 parameters. So it needs a return array and the row number of our range. Okay, let's see how it works. So I'm going to do index, the index there. The first parameter in the index is supposed to be a final result. What's our final result? A final result is the name here. So I'm just going to select it. Remember, I'm working in this table and I'm going over to my search table. That's where I have what I'm looking for. So its product name is there. And then what's the second parameter? The second parameter there is the match function, which I have. Okay. So in the match function is the lookup value. In this case is this. Next up is the lookup array, which is here. And then next up is the match type. Come over here. The match type, I'm just going with 0, which is exact match. And then I close the brackets. I'm closing the parentheses or the bracket for the match. Then I close the parentheses or the bracket for the index. And there you go. I've got laptop there. Okay, so I'm just going to do my locking. So I'm just going to lock it so that the ranges are locked, so that when I drag it, I'm able to apply it. There you go. Okay, so let me drag it. And okay, so my locking. So I have an issue with my locking. I didn't lock it well. So I also have locked here. So I always mix it up, whether to lock the row or the column. So that's why I just do all of them. So let me lock the column. So I'm locking the column this way. And then dragging it down, I should have only 1 error, not 2. And there you go. I have it there. Laptop, keyboard, monitor, and mouse. So this is using the index and the match function. This is using the index and the match function. So I'm just going to go over it again. This was just match. Okay. It's giving us a row number. And here we have index and match. Okay. So I'm coming over here. This is where I'm working. This is where I have my results. This is the cell in focus. So I come over here, and this is the function I have. It's going to go, first of all, to select where I need to return a result, and that's here, M3 to M7. That's the first parameter in the index, my final result. Second parameter is the match function. I type it there and I open the parentheses. First parameter in the match function is here, what I have. So this is what I have. I have the product ID P101. Second parameter in the match function is the range in my search table where I'm looking for that. And that's from L3 to L7. I've locked it. And the final parameter is the setting. Do I want an exact match? I want an exact match, and it is 0 if I want an exact match. And there you go. So that's it here. So what we have when it comes to our lookup and reference functions, what we have, the way we have to understand it is that we're working with multiple ranges or multiple tables in our data sets. We have this table here. This is where we are working on, but we don't have all the information. What we have is product ID. So we're going to take the product ID one by one. So we take it, and then we come over to this table here, which has the details. Then we're going to search here for what we have. So we take this one, come over here, search for it, and when we search for it, or when we look it up, when we look up, then we're going to return what is of interest to us. Okay, so in this table, which is our sales transactions, we only have our product ID. So maybe you have a supermarket, and then you've got different products with an ID on them, or like a code, and then you scan the code. Once you scan the code, you have to go to another data set or table that has the name, the category, the unit price of that product, and then you retrieve it in where you're working. Okay, so now this particular data set that has the product ID, the product name, and the unit price may usually have to be protected and saved. Okay, maybe we don't want to be editing it every time. But now this particular sales transaction is what we're using now. We don't need to have all of this here. All we need to do is take a particular ID, move over here, look it up, and then return whatever we need. Okay, so that's our lookup simplified. So lookup can be complex, it can be tricky, it can be thorny, it can be a headache, but if you understand it the way we've explained, it shouldn't be an issue. So that's our basic lookup functions explained. Okay, so I'm just going to say something just to explain a bit about how we train or how we teach encoding keywords. Okay, so first of all, we have our lesson. Okay, and so we developed this nice looking, easy way of learning by having what we teach, our lesson inside the tool. So we're teaching Excel, and so we have our lesson or we have our presentation right here in Excel using Slicer. So if you want to learn XLookup, VLookup, index plus match, you can come over here and navigate through, and you can see what it's all about. So you can read it up, check the keywords, check the key points, and read it up. And then you move over to practice. So you've got to practice it, you know, so watch the video again, go through all the functions, and you will be able to practice it and master and perfect the lookup functions. And then we added something extra because some people are going to understand it better using this diagram. So pretty much this diagram explains everything I've been, these two diagrams here explain everything I've been teaching for like the last, how many minutes now? Almost 1 hour. So you can get everything in these two diagrams. Okay, so this diagram here is comparing the VLookup with the XLookup and taking one by one the different parameters and then explaining what should go in there. And this one has to do with the VLookup and the index. Okay, so here you get that feel that in the VLookup, the first parameter there is what you know, but in the index, the first parameter there is the column for what you need. Rather, the first parameter of the match which is the third parameter in this combined function, has what you know. Okay, so that's the VLookup, and that's the index functions for you in Excel. So the final thing that we're going to look up is the HLOOKUP. Okay, so remember I skipped it. So the HLOOKUP is actually module 3 of this class. And so I skipped it. So this is the horizontal lookup. Okay, so HLOOKUP is horizontal, and you use it in the case where your data is arranged horizontally and the headers are in the first row. Okay, so here we have rows arranged vertically. So this is row 1 of our record, row 2, row 3, and all of that. But in case we have it the other way around, in case we have it transposed, then we can use the HLOOKUP. So this is the format for the HLOOKUP. And so we're going to see it's rare in real projects, but then we're going to see how it works. Okay, so let's see how it works here. And so I'm just going to copy the data sets. And so there's a data set. So I'm just going to copy it. And I'm just going to put it here. So using our HLOOKUP. And so still going to work with this. So we have this. So this is what we're looking for. I'm going to use the HLOOKUP. Track it. Okay, so all right, so do something different. So I'm just going to insert. Okay, so I do an escape so that where I copied is no more there. So insert sheet columns here. So I want it to be in left, and then I'm going to copy this, and then I just paste it here. Okay, so I need some other columns. All right, so this is what I have. So this is what I have, and then we're just going to use the HLOOKUP here. So I'm going to use the HLOOKUP to find the product name. So what do I want to do? I'm working with this range here. This is what I'm working with. This is what I'm working with, and all I have is the order ID, the product ID, and the units. So I need the product name. I need the product name. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to get it from this data set. Now, this data set here is similar to this one here. Remember, this is a product price list. So I've got product ID, product name category here as a heading. We're going to see that it's going to be arranged in the row. So here I have the headings in the column. Now I have the headings in the row. Okay, so this is the heading here. So it's different. Here I have the heading here and I have my data here horizontally. Okay, so all I need to do is I have my HLOOKUP. Okay, so that's the HLOOKUP, and first thing I have there, sorry, first thing I have here is the lookup value. So what's the lookup value? Okay, this is my lookup value. So Excel is it's not responding. We'll just wait a few seconds for it to respond. Okay, yes, so the lookup value is in AH3 there. So that's the product ID as in the case with the other lookups. And then the table array. Okay, so table array is going to now be this entire table here. Okay, so this is my data set where I'm doing my search. And next up, I have my row index number. What's my row index number? That's for what I want. So I want the product name. So that's going to be row 2. Okay, so this is row 1 for the product ID. Row 2 is for the product name. And then finally, I need exact. So I'm going to type false there. So just watch. You can see Excel is giving me the parameters. If I want an exact match, which is what I want exactly what I'm searching for. So I'm going to type false there, which is exact match. True means approximate, and I click, and there you go. So that's laptop there. So it's been able to go to the table here and use the HLOOKUP, and it has given me. So if I want to lock this, so let me lock this. Okay, so let me just lock both. So I'm locking both here and locking here as well, and so that I can drag it down, and there you go. So you see I've been able to get what I needed using the HLOOKUP. So we've looked at them, and so we're just going to wrap up. So look at index and match. Now let's wrap up. So handling lookup errors safely. So we can wrap up formulas with if error. Okay, sorry. Yeah, common errors. Now let's look at some common errors. Let me just look at the stream to be sure everything is fine. Okay, so looking at common errors. So what are some of those common errors? We've already seen this error here. Is NA error not available, and that occurs when we're trying to search for an identifier. We're using an identifier to search in a table there. So there's no P106, and that's why we have that. So let's see if we're trying to work range. In this case now, let's say that let's say I'm looking for P105, and then I come over here. Okay, all of these are updated. All of the others were updated, so you can see updated for us. Now let me draw these down. You see it gave me printer. Okay, so that's why, because P105 is printer. Now let me come over to this formula here, and then instead of 2, in this case I'm looking for the product name, which is in column 2. Now let me put 5 there, and let's see. So can you see it's giving me an error because this range has only 4 columns. So that's what we have here, the REF, the error. So that's some of the errors we experience. And then we've got the if error formula. Okay, the if error formula. So let's use this if error formula. So we're going to come here, and we're going to put the if error formula. So how do we put the if error formula? First, we have if error, then we have a formula, and then we have an error message. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to type if error, and then I open the parentheses, and the first parameter there should be the formula. So all of this is the formula, and then I have my comma, and then I put a message there. You can see, let me see, error here. Okay, and then I close it, and there you go. So you see that error here. Okay, so that's another formula we have introduced, which is the if error formula. It helps you to handle the errors. So ideally, this is how we should use the formulas. We need to be able to deal with the errors using like the if error function. Remember, we handle the error here with the XLookup. So the XLookup helps us to handle the error with a message inside. We can also use the if error formula. Okay, so when not to hide errors. So when you're troubleshooting, you don't want to hide the errors. You want to see the errors so that you can deal with them. Okay, so we've done that. We've used the if errors formula, if error formulas, and then we can replace it with all of this. Okay, so next up is common mistakes to address. Lookup to lookup tables. Lookup tables, sorry. So we did locking using the $sign. You saw how we locked it to ensure that we maintain the range. So we should always lock it. And then using approximate match unintentionally. So we should use our exact match when we need to have exact results. And then hiding important errors blindly. They shouldn't be hidden. And then using VLookup when XLookup is available. So XLookup is preferable to the VLookup. Okay, so so let's do something here. If I come over here, now watch what happens. remember, this is my VLookup results. This is my VLookup result here. And this is my XLookup result. Now, if I come here, and this is my search table, and I put a column here, now can you see? I put a column here, so my column 2 now is something else. You can see that my VLookup has kind of failed. It really has failed, really has failed. This is my VLookup result, it has failed. I altered this table and it failed. But look at my XLookup is still fine. Index is still fine. So why is it so? Okay, you can go back to these are nice looking diagrams here, and we see that in the VLookup you have to specify the column that you need, and the column changed when I added a new column. Whereas the XLookup, you specify the range, and the range was updated with the updates in it was updated, and so I didn't have any issues. Okay, so let me remove that, and let's see what happens if. Okay, all right. So if I move this first column somewhere else, I'm also going to have an issue with the VLookup, because with the VLookup, I should always have my lookup in the first column. In the first column. All right, so that pretty much brings us to the end of our lookup and reference functions, which I would call the most complex functions that are popular in Excel. We use them a lot because we always do searching. So you just have to understand that Excel is a software or a tool for data. It's all about data. So you'd have data entry, you have data formatting, you have data styling, you have data organization, you have data cleaning, you have data analysis, you have data manipulation. It's all about data. Part of what we do in processing our data in an analysis is searching. And that's what we've looked at. We've looked at how to search for data in multiple locations in Excel. So this is more like an intermediate level use of Excel. You just have to know how to use the lookup and reference functions for you to be able to do powerful things in Excel. So you can compare them, see the advantages that the XLookup has over the VLookup. We saw that the VLookup is VLookup, you have to look right only, whilst the XLookup, you can look left or right. So you've got your custom message. It is simple and it's powerful, it's optimized. So we recommend the XLookup for you. You need to check your version to see if you have XLookup in your version. So the VLookup is the legacy or the original lookup function. It's simple, but it's limited. The XLookup is the modern replacement for the VLookup and the HLOOKUP. And the index plus match, remember, the match gives you the position, and the index gives you the value at that position. So that's a summary of them. And that brings us to the end of Module 10 for this Introduction to Excel course. So essentially what we've done is we've looked at the 10 important things to know for a beginner, or 10 important things a beginner should know in Excel. We've covered them, and there's still some other things to learn in Excel. Okay, so let's look at what we've learned so far. The Excel interface, you should watch that first module, that first video. I mean, it's a foundation. Gives you a good idea of the Excel interface. Excel is all about the cell, and it's all about working with data. We saw the different commands in the ribbon. We saw the concept of the sheets and all of that. Then we looked at data entry, which is basic computer appreciation, how to enter data, copy and pasting, working with the clipboard, doing basic editing. And then we looked at data formatting. We saw that when you bring your data into Excel, you have to understand that it's not just data, it's not just the content or the value. There's also the formats, the data type, the styling, which you have to take note of, the location as well. We looked at that, and then we jumped over to basic calculation for numeric data types. And then we looked at cell referencing, very important, understanding the concept of the position or the location of the cell. And then in the next module, we looked at data organization, which is the first step when you want to start doing manipulation of your data. We looked at logical conditional functions, which is what you use when you need to make a decision based on a question or based on condition. And then we looked at dates and text. So remember we said numbers, dates, and text are the key data types in Excel. And then we looked at pivot tables, pivot charts, which I called the most powerful Excel feature. And we saw how powerful it is. And that's why it's very well used in data analysis. And today we looked at the lookup and reference functions. So what next? Okay, so our promise to you was that we were going to have 10 classes on YouTube for Excel. And I can assure you that if you go through these 10 modules, you would have the basic understanding of Excel, which you can fly with. Okay, so you can learn this and then it'll be easy for you to pick up Excel for data analysis, Excel for automation, whatever you want to use Excel for. We tweaked it a bit, okay? So we tweaked it a bit, and that's because we had to concentrate a bit more on the references and all of that. But because we promised this, we're going to give you everything we promised here. So we're going to do Power Query, and we're going to do AI for data analysis, and we're going to do our tech skills assessment. So that's the bonus we are offering. For staying with us, we're going to offer that bonus, and that means we're going to push a bit into the Excel intermediates. Okay, this is usually what we teach in our paid classes. Okay, so please check our WhatsApp group, click on the link in the comment section, click also on our Telegram link, connect with us, and you would be able to see how to take advantage of our courses. So especially for the paid classes, you're going to see other things like advanced data analysis, like our visualization and dashboards. A few of those resources are already on the channel, so please subscribe. You can take advantage of that. We're also going to look at data cleaning and preparation. We have videos on that. Advanced data tools, looking at Power Query. So we're going to look at, we'll have videos. So this is a course. We're going to have Power Query. Okay, data modeling is, okay, these are intermediate and advanced macros. And okay, so we're going to choose what we're going to put up for free on YouTube. Okay, so we're going to have AI, we're going to have our tech assessments, and we're going to have simple automation and Power Query. So watch out for our videos. So once again, I am Dr. Adejo, and this has been 10 modules of Introduction to Basic Excel. And we've looked at Excel, introduced Excel for beginners. And I want a feedback from you. So please chat with me in the comment section. I want you to share this video. I want you to like the video. Please, I need your comments. If you've been with us from Module 1 to Module 10, I want your comments. I want you to subscribe. And thank you very much. So see you in the next video. See you in the next video. Bye.